Ahoy, this is Michaela from Team RetroOZ, where we like retro games, we like roguelikes, and we like the devices that bring them to us. Now, I spent the last week and a half configuring my RG351P and my Powkiddy RGB10 Max with custom firmware ArkOS and RetroOZ. They are both similar firmwares, RetroOZ being a fork of ArkOS that works on the RGB10 Max. And both of these custom firmwares have really unlocked a lot of potential on both of these devices for emulation. However, the real reason I've been tinkering with these devices is to unlock the potential when it comes to the different ports that you can play on these devices. And this can go from running old games like Doom, to running PC games, to running Steam games that you can actually purchase and play on these devices. And the reason that there are some Steam games that are compatible with these single board computers is because RetroOZ and ArkOS are Linux-based operating systems. So what you're actually doing is playing the Linux version of these games. So what I'm actually going to show you in this video are the top 5 ports that I really like to sit down and play on these devices. I'm not going to show you in any particular order, and I'm also not going to show you how to install these ports because Retro Gamecore, who is an amazing YouTuber who works with these retro devices, already has a channel and a website dedicated to how to install these various ports on these devices. So instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm just going to link to his website and his channel, and you can check out his videos. Definitely give him a subscribe, and you can install the ports from there. However, what I am going to do is I'm going to tell you why I enjoy playing these ports so much and why it is worth your time to install and play them if you have one of these devices. So let's dive in, let's get started, and let's show off some amazing ports. So the first port I want to talk about is actually 2 separate ports, but because they are very similar games, I'm lumping them into one section, and that's the Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 port. Now these ports have a lot of benefits over simply running the Genesis version of the same games. For starters, there is built-in save support, so you don't need to worry about starting over every time you play. Another thing is that Sonic 1 actually has the spin dash added in. Now that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to these ports. They run at 60 frames per second, they run very well, and they cover up the whole screen on the RGB10 Max, so you actually have widescreen support here. And the games just look and run beautifully. In addition to save game support and the video compatibility, you also get a couple of nice baked-in extras that come with running these ports. For example, there's a character selection in Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, so you could play as Tails, Knuckles, or Sonic and Tails in the original Sonic 1, and that wasn't an option in the Genesis version, much like the spin dash also wasn't an option, so it really opens up these games. It's basically like having the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, except it's built into this port and you don't need to insert a cartridge into another cartridge. But there's Knuckles hanging out in Green Hill Zone, gliding around doing what Knuckles does. Sonic 2, despite its difficulty, remains one of my all-time favorite Sonic games to just pick up and play. And being able to play it in this format on these devices is just simply a joy. And speaking of Sonic, I stumbled across this game called Freedom Planet while watching Retro Gamecore's videos, and once I ported it to my RG351P, I found this game to be absolutely fun to play. It has some Sonic undertones to it. There's a spin dash, there are springs, there are loops, but in addition to all that, there is hacking and slashing, and I just found this game to be insanely fun. It takes all the fun things about a Sonic game, and it adds even more fun gameplay to it. Plus, you're a cat, which is just bonus points in my opinion. It's almost like a combination of Sonic the Hedgehog and a Mega Man game, and when I sat down to test out whether I had installed the port correctly, I found myself just getting utterly lost in the gameplay. This is just a really fun game. Now, unfortunately, this game only works on ArkOS on RG351 devices right now. It hasn't yet been ported to the RGB10 Max. However, I do expect there will be RetroOZ compatibility in the near future. And you can also get this game on your PC through Steam or through Humble. I actually purchased this particular version through Humble, and then I was able to link my Humble and Steam accounts, and then download my Linux version from there to install into my RG351P. Now, this game did run me about $15, but in my opinion, it was $15 very well spent. And there really isn't much else to say about this game other than it's insanely fun and it is definitely worth your time. Now, I've never been big into beat-em-up games that aren't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but the Streets of Rage remake has actually sucked me in. Unfortunately, I don't have a basis for comparison because I've never really played the original Streets of Rage, but I've heard from friends of mine who are in love with this series that it is actually a wonderful game series if you are looking for a beat-em-up game to play. And this game in particular, whenever I'm testing out ports on my retro devices, I always end up spending a good half hour, 40 minutes just sitting and playing the Streets of Rage remake, just because it helps me get some aggression out, and it looks good, it plays good. And the Streets of Rage remake works on a lot of devices. It even works on my RG300. So if beat-em-up games are your thing and you have one of these devices, definitely check out the Streets of Rage remake. Now you can imagine my surprise when I found out that Shovel Knight Treasure Trove actually works on these RK3326 devices. Now, this was the same as Freedom Planet. I already had a copy of Shovel Knight on my Steam account, so I was able to download the Linux version and port it over to both my RG351P and my RGB10 Max. And playing these games on these devices is exactly the same as playing them on a Nintendo Switch or a 3DS or a 2DS. But it's nice to have that added bonus of being able to play Shovel Knight on a device that I bought specifically for retro gaming. Having this game on these devices is really just an added bonus to me, and I've supported Yacht Club Games by buying this game more times than I could count, because I really just enjoy the gameplay of the Treasure Trove. And it looks absolutely amazing on both devices. And if you already own the entire Treasure Trove on Steam or on Humble, you can play every single one of these character stories on these devices. Now, the price is a little steep at $40 for the entire Treasure Trove. So if you already have Shovel Knight on, say, a Nintendo Switch or a 2DS or 3DS, you'll have to decide if shelling out $40 for a Steam or Humble copy is worth it just to get it on these devices. However, if you do decide that the value is worth it, then you won't be disappointed at the performance of Shovel Knight on an RK3326 device.
It's me, Mario. Hello.
And finally, the Super Mario 64 port actually runs at a full 60 frames per second on these two devices, and you also have full widescreen support on the RGB10 Max. And this game actually is the most beautiful I have ever seen, and that includes on Nintendo's own devices. This port actually looks much more beautiful than Nintendo's own re-release in the Super Mario 3D All-Stars mix that came out on Nintendo Switch late last year. And on a big screen like in the RGB10 Max, I would argue that this would perform and look better than on a Nintendo Switch Lite. In fact, I may even argue that this port is a reason to buy the RGB10 Max if you are on the fence on getting one of these retro devices. And if you already have an RG351 device or the RGB10 or the RGB10 Max, then definitely take the time to put this game on it if you haven't already. And that'll do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed watching a showcase of some of my favorite ports to play on these devices. And if you have any favorite ports of your own, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if this video was helpful to you in any way, please be sure to like and subscribe. I did pre-order an OLED Switch that will be coming at the end of the week along with Metroid Dread, so look forward to some content that has to do with that. Until next time, bye for now, and don't stop believing.